Hi, welcome to Fight It Show, where we analyze and solve pure kerfuffles from a world of beyond.
Yeah, that's lunch.
I'm your host, Lexiol. Joining me as always is Kid Native Bloody Elbow and EUGENE'S Robinson.
Fuck that. You're either with us or you're against us.
Don't challenge the back scratcher, Eugene.
Your back will be scratched when you least expect it. And EUGENE'S Robinson, Rozzy.com, and author of Fight Everything Everyone Know About Ass Kicking, but we're afraid to get your ass kicked for asking. Collectively, MMA punch holes.
Punch holes, baby. Yeah. Don't think about that too long.
So, Eugene.
Yes.
You're Viacom. As owners of the Bellator MMA promotion, having a pay-per-view card live from Madison Square Garden, just 10 blocks.
If you will.
If you will. There you go. Live in public, if you will. From Madison Square Garden. Just 10 blocks. It's a 10.
Yeah.
Away from your Midtown Manhattan offices, which I've been to. Raise the stakes for your investment. Give us your PR review of an unpredictable night of fights that had the Boo Birds pooping on your production.
Funny use of poop, but I'm sure that comes up later. In literary terms, we call that foreshadowing. Look, listen, if you haven't understood or haven't gotten your head around the Bellator business model, and you haven't paid attention to Scott Coker from K1 or from Strikeforce or don't know, it is, let me explain. I went to a basketball game in 1974, and it was completely fucking boring to me. It was at the LIU, Long Island University, college team. I just sat there. I was like, geez. I went to another basketball game in 2010. And that was insane. That was a feast for the eyes and the senses. They were clowns. They were trampolines. They were all the time that they were showing commercials to people at home. They had they had T-shirt guns. They had confetti. It was fucking crazy. When I left that fight, I'm not a basketball fan, but when I left that fight, I felt like those kids that you see being carried to the car after a day at Great Adventure or Great America or Disneyland, just fucking sensoried to pieces. That I couldn't take it. Scott Coker draws from that book. Well, they could have played one national anthem. They played two national anthems. They could have kept it short. They went long. It's called love bombing. Cults use it all the time, and it's probably on a book somewhere in Scott Coker's bookshelf. But believe me, it's all about the P.T. Barnum make you look thing. I have to say it was a fucking success. And right before I got to the show, somebody tweeted out the Bloody Elbow viewership numbers. And what were they? I guess I made you look pretty successfully. I guess I took all your washed up secondaries, and I guess I made silk purses out of sow's ears. I guess I did, didn't I? Because I beat you in the number sweepstakes. So if I'm them, I feel pretty good, man. I took 2 nickels and I made it a quarter.
$1.15. So yeah. What do you think, Nate?
All of that is true, but the whole made you look thing has to include a component of building some new fighters that, you get people there with the Chaels, the Wandys, the Fedors that people already know. You hopefully bring them back for future promotion, because these guys all have very short shelf lives. You might have seen the end of Fedor in the cage on Saturday. I hope so anyway. And you didn't really build any new stars on this card whatsoever. I mean, it's not their fault. It was bad luck. Michael Chandler twisted his ankle or maybe broke his foot in the middle, which is pretty nasty. But at the same time, I mean, it was like the whole card was jinxed. And then Eugene and I didn't even catch that Bader versus Davis was a rematch because the first fight was so shitty we had blacked it out. And the second fight was even worse. That was the most tedious, awful shit. Like, I mean, remember when?
Hey! There were no. It's not like, Francis Carmont levels.
Yeah, it was pretty close, man. It was pretty close. And remember that WEC, the one WEC pay-per-view where they had the crazy Korean zombie fight. Was it Zombie and Leonard Garcia, I think?
Yeah, I can
and it was just this insane off the chain fight, and it really pumped you up for the pay-per-view, and it sold the shit out of the pay-per-view. Bader and Davis, they were like, it was a Hobson's choice because they knew people would feel pissed off in advance if they were asked to pay for it. Because this sucked last time, and now you want me to pay for it? On the other hand, using it as their big name lead-in on Spike TV, you got people like, get this off my TV instead of how can I get more of this? So I would say it was a mixed bag. I mean, that's been the Scott Coker Bellator's problem. They've been able to have these flagpole, tentpole events. You know, they had Tito and Bonner, you know, Tito and Shale. They had Gracie and Shamrock. They had several Kimbo fights, but none of it built anything in terms of quality hardcore MMA that they can build on. They haven't built any stars. And so I'd have to give them kind of a mix.
Oh boy, oh boy! Yeah. It's nice talking to old hippies that don't get that where it Trump's America, baby. It's Trump's America. Oh, he can't run a campaign off of a bus, off of rallies. He can't. It's shoddy. It's shabby. His suits don't fit. His ties are too long. Oh, it's a joke. He's got yahoos. You know what? Scott Coker, as far as I'm concerned, the model that you have for his success is not the model he has for his success. You know, you who was that fight or Elite XC?
I'm just going about what he's saying in interviews.
They pumped up James Thompson's ear with Saline solution to give Kimbo Slice, God rest his soul, to give Kimbo Slice an escape button that he could pop anytime he want if he was in trouble. That shit was shadier than shit. I went to a fight at the Oakland Coliseum done by a promoter who will remain nameless. And there's nobody that we've talked about on the show. And Oakland Coliseum, you know how many people showed up? 50. These guys, listen, we're talking about a category of human that I'm not saying that they're low-life. I'm not saying that they're low-life pieces of shit. But I'm saying that the name of the game is not quality necessarily. You know? And if you think that they can't build a franchise on the backs of the decrepit, you're wrong. You know, Chuck Liddell wants to come back. Matt Hughes, you know, well, he's
I don't think Matt Hughes is going to be fighting again.
Yeah, swift recovery. I don't know what happened with that. I'm suspecting, and I have nothing to base this on, that it was not a positive PR spin that got him in front of that train. Drugs, alcohol, or suicide, don't know. But I don't know many people who got hit by trains outside of my grandfather. And he was drunk when he got hit by the train, and he lived. So, but in any case, I don't know, man. I think that what is that thing? The more you ignore me, the Morrissey song, the closer I get. I don't think if B team is what you're going for, that you can lose. As long as you're putting in those kind of numbers with the kind of payroll, I don't think you're gonna lose. You know, they're not putting the glitz and the glamour, that expensive, deep, expensive shit that the UFC loves. Bellator is not doing it, and they're making better numbers. You tell me. You ever been into Walmart or Target? Yeah. You know who doesn't shop there? Tom Ford doesn't shop there, but those are pretty successful businesses.
Well, one business that got a lot of attention, but I don't know if you can bring it up to something that's success for the future. Nate, your UFC fighter, Justine Kish.
Oh, man.
While escaping a rear naked choke last Sunday in your UFC Fight Night 112 match against Felice Herring, your bowels escaped your body, lavin and palagiviu. Your performance was smeared on the mat and in the minds of mainstream media outlets who are reporting on your colonic kerfuffle. How can you make do from your doo-doo?
Man. That's right. That's why people come here. It's the high quality stuff. That was some good writing. Fuck that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to spin this straw into gold. I mean, much respect to her. That's shit happens. That was a tough situation. She got out of a very serious submission hold. You know, she's fighting for her life. The stress and everything and the travel and the tension of fight night, is something I don't think casual fans understand. And man, I think she's handled it very well. I think her post poop tweet was
Shit happens.
perfect. Shit happens, and you know, all she can do is go on. But you know, she's going to be the poop girl for the rest of her career. I mean, Tim Sylvia infamously pooped in the cage, but it was at a day and age when nobody cared. Nobody noticed. UFC was on Spike TV. It wasn't that big a deal. It was up and coming. Tim Sylvia is best known for winning and losing the heavyweight title several times. And all sorts of other.
And swooping on Amber when I had a chance.
Well, if you lost a girl to Tim Sylvia,
I don't know why. I don't know why I keep mentioning that.
I don't either. So I you know, with all due respect to Ms. Gish, I don't know what I don't think there's anything she can do. And she lost the fight. Like, this was a massive lose-lose, bad PR moment. She's going to pick it up, you know, and move forward, but
pick it up and wipe it off.
Yeah, pick it up, wipe yourself off, and I mean, you know, one way she could go is with the whole making something of it, you know, like there's all kinds of puns and all, but I don't know, like what was she going to do? An ad campaign for Adult Depends?
Good.
Yeah, you know, I mean, if she wants to go there, there's a road, but otherwise, I think doors are closed.
Do a Shark Tank, man, like for, you know, special athletic gear for in-ring poops, or, you know, pooping on yourself during sporting events. I'm telling you, it's like, I mean,
I'm sure it happens with these Spartan races and stuff that people are doing all the time. You know, I mean,
marathons. I mean, I have a friend that he would go to the New York Marathon every year because he wanted to see people shit on themselves.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's like, oh, Lexi, it's the greatest thing. Like, you see these people, and you got to know exactly where to stand near the marathon to make sure it's at that point when they think they've made it, and they make it all right.
And this is a friend, huh?
Yeah, of course, a friend, man. Hey, because
what's his name? What's his name?
You should know me by now. At the end of the day, that kind of stuff, you know, just the poop and everything. Just, I'm so much of a germaphobe. Just
if you don't know me by now,
yeah. If you don't
so are
know
Eugene.
Me, well, look. Anybody with kids, which at this point includes all of us, you develop a different relationship to poop. You know, it's like rain and bad weather. You're gonna have to have a relationship with poop that's unlike one that you've ever had any other point in your life. Even if you've been fond of anal sex or whatever, you just when you got kids, there's poop here, there's poop there, there's poop everywhere. You got poop on your shirt, you got poop everywhere. So it's not that big of a deal, really. However, as a lifeguard, I do remember that as a former lifeguard, I do remember that if there was poop in the pool, which happened on occasion, you got to close that fucking thing for 3 hours. 3 days, 2 or 3 days, because of hepatitis concerns. So
I thought that was only if it was a non-solid movement.
No,
like baby Ruth bar,
any kind of fucking poop at all, because unless you discover it as a kid is dropping the deuce, chlorine breaks it apart and starts to filter apart. You may think you have the solid thing, but don't drink the water around that. So while everybody's playing this for yucks, I'm actually on the epidemiological scale concerned about you know, these guys are getting fucking drug tested. They're getting tested for diseases. They have to get medical clearance. You know, I'm at the point where I don't know how to deal with it, but I would have called a halt to the fucking action. And you got to clean that shit up. You know,
literally.
Yes, literally. I'm thinking about the health and safety of the fighters, and you know, if a guy had a gash on his face and was bleeding profusely, right? Part of the reason they stop is because the guy can't see. Move that cut, move that gash to his chest, and is bleeding profusely. They still stop that fight. The guy, the bioviral load is just too fucking high. So I don't. You can't really stop the fight and change it. But man, I don't know what to tell you. Make the cages modular so that you can pop those things off and pop them on and off like tucking the sheet around the bed. But I think that was unfortunate. And if I'm the second fighter going in that, hey, look, I played support for bands, and I see them whisper to the sound guy, "Hey, could you get that mic in there?" After I've been sticking the mic in my pants, right? And I don't blame him not one iota, because I'm not if it were reversed and we were headlining, I'm swap out the mic. If I wanted anything that was close to your balls, close to my mouth, I'd have let you take you on a date. So
you didn't have any acts that like made a special request to perform right after you, Eugene?
Nobody really wants to play after us, but you know, it happens.
No, that's why it's like,
yeah.
after us. I don't get it.
So while we're all playing this for yucks, you know, because there's you poop. I mean, you know, the issue of, and God forbid that Herrick comes down with fucking some sort of hep variant. I don't know where I got it. Really? I know where I fucking got it. And I've been disturbed watching it. Anybody who does jiu-jitsu shares it. All those fucking guys in the cage with shoes on. Staff, Impetigo, MRSA, a ringworm. This is real fucking shit. I don't know where the hell you guys have been. You've been taking a leak between rounds. You come, you're stepping. You know, it's not that big of a thing. However, if we're going to have the rubric of respect for fighters, the fact that nobody's thought of this, nobody's taking care of it, that's being treated like a joke, in my mind, if I'm a fucking fighter, I'm going, you see how they do you? You see how you do? If I was a field fucking hand and complained, you know, yo, dude took a fucking crap near the commissary, it would be a serious deal. I don't care if he's got diarrhea. I don't care if he's a stomach ailment. It's a serious deal. So sorry to have to zig where everybody else zagged, but I don't think shit's a joke.
Man, I see you just ruined my 2 girls in a cup or octagon jokes and.
Well, you know,
needs to do some investigation.
You know, look, nothing that's human is strange to me, right? People poop every day. Oops, sorry. People poop every day, and and you know, she's not the first fighter to poop, and there've been other fighters that poop. Wrestlers have been pooping on the mat for a long time, but in this instance, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
In this instance, you know, I think it should be taken a little bit more seriously than it is.
Well, since you are taking it seriously, Eugene, you're WME-IMG.
Mm-hmm.
As if Justine Kish's defecating during her UFC Fight Night 112 match was enough to smear brand her opponent. UFC strawweight Felice Herrig broke down and cried about your promotional practices during her post-fight media scrum. Quote, honestly, if you want to know the truth, I just feel like I'm not young and beautiful enough for the UFC to want to promote me, end quote. Since the media is more focused on Justine Kish's poop than Felice Herrig's tears, what moves, if any, do you make, WME?
I'm sorry, man. I couldn't hear what you were saying because mostly I was looking at my phone. Oh, who is that? That's Felice Herrig. No, she's fucking ugly. She's fucking ugly. So I can see why they wouldn't promote this ugly half-naked woman, because nobody wants to see that, and nobody wants to see that, and you know, I mean, nobody wants to see we go from half-naked to fully naked fighter woman on a chair. Who wants to see that? Who wants to see that? I don't know. I mean, I think what she's voicing is very much the same as a DJ is voicing, and it's bad business 101, and that's that people who are in know they're fucking in. It's like, I don't know if you've seen Salo 120 Days of Sodom, the Pierre Pasolini movie, where they take the fascists, marry each other's daughters, and take a bunch of street urchins out to a not Nazi fascist, Italian fascist. Take them to the edge of town into a mansion, and they enact torture. And you have the group of street urchins divided it into twos: ones who accommodate the system and try to backstab and finagle their way to the top, and those who clearly are opposing the system. It's Marquis de Sade. You should read it sometime or see the movie. Take a date. Maybe watch it with your mom. Salo, 120 Days of Sodom. It's good stuff. It actually really is. But don't watch it with your mom. So I mean, it's the same kind of thing. If you're in the UFC, you know it. You get a job with $1 million salary where you don't even have to wear shoes to work. Chuck Liddell, you know, you get a job where you get a fancy gold paperweight, you know, on your desk, Matt Hughes, or you are Chris Lieben. You know, so what she has that people have not. She's having a rare moment of clarity. And she realizes, despite the naked photos, despite the bikini shots, despite the half naked, despite the wins, the bald one just isn't feeling it. Is it because she doesn't have it? I don't know. What the fuck do I know? But I know there are lots of other people in her position who have voiced similar sentiments. The Diaz's, DJ. It's a weird and unhealthy corporate fucking culture there. I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's not about, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that she's attractive enough to actually be, but you know, people flock to Hollywood and end up in porn all the time because they think it's just about attractiveness. It's about character. But that being said, I think her face has got character. Does she have personality? She got a little bit of personality. Does she have more personality than a Kardashian? Probably. So why not her? Why not? Because the system is fucking capricious. Except in the UFC, it's not just caprice, it's the bald one.
What do you think, Nate?
I think it's not despite the nudie pictures that she's feeling this. It's because of. This is a woman who's traded on her youth and beauty to get attention. Now she's starting to lose it because she's in her 30s.
Lose it?
Well, she's still lovely and attractive, but I'm just saying women see this stuff differently. She's looking at 19-year-olds and 22-year-olds and comparing herself. Women are always comparing themselves to other women, and I think
she's
how old is that photo and how photoshopped is that photo? That's the thing.
Fuck do I know? It says June 20. It says today.
It says today. Well, whatever. I think she's feeling her age, man. I think she's feeling her age, and I think you're largely right that it's a bald one and it's somewhat arbitrary. But I don't think she has. I think she's a journeyman fighter, and a journeyman personality. The TNA thing is her best angle that she's come up with. It hasn't been a great angle, but it's been okay. People know who she is. I like the tears. I thought it was a good angle. I think it was a good twist on her persona, and it's very much in sync with Ally Quinta and DJ and the Diaz brothers as somebody who's pushing back against the Empire. So good on her. Keep it up. Keep winning. That's the main thing. Win fights, then talk shit.
Yep.
Then make.
What about WME though? What should they do?
What should they do?
Yeah, that's
nothing. Book her next fight. That's what they should do.
Yep.
I mean, she hasn't escalated to the point where she's like a problem. I mean,
like the Tom Waits Bette Midler song. This town is full of guys like you, and this, right. You know, whatever. And from the WME side of the fence, they got lots of cute girls. So don't need another cute girl. Got to have some character. Oh, well, you're different. You're a fighter. You're right. You got something there. Why don't we just go to Gina Carano?
Yeah, well,
right.
Expensive and not there. I think
expensive. Gina Carano would do a tampon commercial if you asked her.
She's not fighting, and she's not fighting for a WME.
I'm not talking about fighting. I'm talking about just jumping over the wall and, you know, being this personality. I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how you put food on the table, right?
Yeah, but that's not going to happen for Felice. And you know.
Another reason why it's definitely not going to happen in terms of deaf ears as well for WME is the fact that look at the movie industry, right? You have enough actresses with talent and character who have successful careers, and they've done the studies when they hit 30, roles start drying up. So being part of an industry that doesn't care about discarding women when they reach a certain age, despite being box office draws, isn't going to mean much success for somebody who tried to get traction by dropping the draws.
Yeah, so, and I mean the system is sick too. You know, I mean,
right?
There's a girl who used to date a fighter friend of mine, and she put some photo of her on her site, and everybody was going, "Oh, she's so beautiful! You're so beautiful! You're so great!" And I said, I left a comment. I said, "Is this to raise money?" And she goes, to raise money? Yeah, because you've got this congenital knee thing that that you can't stand straight. Your feet are like, this little girl thing she's doing. I can't stand up on my feet because I'm only 3 years old, and her toes are pointed, her knees are knocked together, and and everybody's saying it's sexy. That shit's not fucking sexy. It's infantile. It's not fucking sexy, and I think it's borderline fucking catering to our worst instincts. I know it's probably driven by biology and anthropology,
or psychological scars.
Or exactly, or that, or on an unconscious level, on desire to breed with breedable surrogates. I don't know. It's fucking creepy. Most women I know, if they're not no men around, can stand perfectly well on their 2 fucking feet without the knees knocking together, the feet turned in, none of this sexy. A buddy of mine, some woman was doing that. He goes, "Stop it! It's fucking creepy," and it is.
Well, that's something that's disturbing. Nate, you're the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation.
Right at home. Right at home.
That's right. You bungled your drug testing of UFC 211 strawweight fighter Cortney Casey and ruined her public reputation, subjecting the children she trains and her mother to abuse and harassment by irate fans. Mm-hmm. She told Bloody Elbow's Ian Kidd, quote, "I've been happy with how the UFC handled this and how USADA handled it. The only part that hasn't been going smoothly is the contact with and professionalism of Texas. What do you do to make things right?"
They don't give a shit. They're barely aware this even happened, man. These people are here to get fights going and move on down the road. This gal was just like a piglet in a pen that got rolled over by a big sow. Nobody gives a shit. Like, just keep on trucking down the road. Texas is business friendly, low regulation. So they don't spend any money on this. We don't spend any money on this. And we're offering a value proposition of fight promotions, as in, we don't take too hard a look at your athletes. We're not too worried about what drugs they're taking or their health conditions. Of course, there's a risk to that. You could have a fighter die in the cage because they didn't catch an aneurysm or something like that another state, like say New Jersey, has caught. So they don't care. This is nothing to the people that make the decisions at this board. It would have to be something big time on Fox for it to make any impression on them. Like, if Governor Greg Abbott hears about it, then they care. Governor Greg Abbott, something tells me, isn't reading Bloody Elbow, so they're just going to keep trucking down the road, ruining reputations, screwing people over, whatever, booking fighters into fights that they shouldn't be anywhere near. If money's made and deals are done, that's all they care about.
Man.
I would go back to Stalin on this one and in paraphrase ask, how much does Texas weigh?
A lot. Texas is a big state.
Yeah, Texas weighs a lot. And then how much does she weigh?
Nada.
She doesn't weigh more than Texas, does she?
Nope.
Yeah, so there you go. Thanks for coming. I mean, I remember at one point some guy, where the fuck was I? Oh, it was me. I was a bouncer, and some guy was some impassioned case. Like, you didn't see, and he's explaining, and he's trying to explain, and I'm just thinking about everything else. I'm not thinking about, and then he makes a move that I have to pay attention to. Like, he kind of says, "You're not," because he feels that I've just left the room. I'm not listening to the conversation, that I'm just kind of floating above the crowd. He's trying to, drunken guy trying to talk his way back into the club. And I move like this, and he tries to get in my line of sight because he wants me to engage. And I said, "You're out." And the guy's like, "Yeah, but," and next thing I know, he's asleep on the ground.
How did that happen?
Well, I punched him in his face. The reality of it was, outside of that punch in the face, none of my time was spent thinking about that guy. Absolutely none. And the 2 seconds it took me to punch his face, it was like thinking about other things. Other things. Other things. Welcome to Texas.
Man. I was thinking about that song. I've been thinking about you, Chapow Pow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't. You know, these organizations do not care about you. They don't care. They don't. Or to quote a Leopoldo Serral, they don't fuck care.
Man.
I gotta interrupt. Is a Stalin reference as good as a Nazi reference, or
I already made the Nazi reference.
which was?
Come on, man. You want me to stop the show, replay the show? You got to keep up. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I'm not the one who
Classic.
wrote
Where's the
down a
sound
Nazi
effects? We need
reference.
Ask a commenter where the Nazi reference came. It was before then. So let's
The
just.
commenters
And
are
if-
asking, when do we get the Nazi reference? That's what Andrew's saying.
Well, your commenters is like attracted like guys who are confused,
He made
hanging
a
out
sub-
with guys who are confused.
Yeah, you know what? You have the subliminal disses in rap. He made a subliminal Nazi reference.
It wasn't subliminal. It came out of my mouth. Yeah, but they didn't hear it. Right.
No, because they make it, but people just like, you know. Anyway, while we're on the topic of people that don't care, Eugene, what can Bill Cosby learn from MMA in wake of his failing post-mistrial legacy restoration project?
What he can learn from MMA, he needs to take a lesson from the page of Michael Bisping, or Matt. Who's the deaf cat? What's it? Matt. What's his name again?
Matt
Matt Hamill.
Hamill.
Matt Hamill. Bisping. You know, Bisping. When he was fighting, was it George Rivera? And he like kneed him in the balls and gouged his eye what?
You made an Italian fascist reference, no Nazi reference. People
I
aren't
said,
gonna be told these
and then I addressed Nazis by way of fascists. I said, not Nazi fascist, Italian fascist, big, and I got it in, and you're
Subliminal.
stepping all over my
Subliminal,
line.
I'm telling you.
You're stepping
Subliminal.
all over my line.
So anyway, the gouge. So you got gouging.
Yeah,
and
so
kneeing in the nuts. Finish that.
And then they raise his hand, and this is why I started to hate Bisping. It's like, because it demand, what was that thing? Survival Research Labs, SRL. They had a senseless theater of jungle hate, one of their shows, and one of the taglines for it was "Demand unearned rewards." And I never. That's the way of doing business in America. And Bisping, without shame at all, had his hand raised. Not a dint or scintilla of fucking shame. Was like, whatever, Jack. I'm not a judge. They're professionals. They get paid for this. I got to assume they know what they're doing. Why not me as a winner? You know, Matt Hamill stood there after getting pasted by John Jones and raised his head. Why not? It was a different level of brazenness with Matt Hamill, who never really recovered from that beating, than Bisping, who's gone on to hold the strap. So, you know, I'm going to say that I'm sorry, I got interrupted by Kid Nate, so I forgot what I was talking about.
Bill Cosby.
So
Cosby. So all right. So with Cosby, he tried to pull from the Bisping handbook. It was like, cool, baby. Now I'm gonna do a seminar in your face about how to fight back against sexual predation and keep your shit together by not getting too fucked up when you're around somebody who's famous and got a lot of cash. Or then they secondarily they spun it like, oh, it's gonna be a lot of, you know, upwardly successful young men and women out there who need to know how to avoid this. And then the fucking shitstorm started with people reminding him that he was 2 Negro jurists away from going to jail. You know, and I say that, and I could be completely wrong. I don't know that it was a black jurist who were actually absolutely refusing to budge on his guilty plea, but those are bad odds, 10 against 2, and those are the same kind of odds that get a prosecutor to think, yeah, mistrial, I'm in for a penny, in for a pound, I'm going back in. It's the same kind of 10-2 that makes Andrea Custan pissed off enough to say, I'll go through this again. And now they're soft pedaling and they're like, oh, we didn't mean that. Bill Cosby, would you get your hand raised, take your little fucking trophy, and go on? Don't talk crazy. You didn't see Matt Hamill saying, since I bit John Jones, you get nothing. You knew it. We all knew it. Everybody knew it. 10-2. The world knows it. Count yourself fucking lucky. Live out your dotage wherever the fuck you are. Count your money and leave us alone.
Yep. What do you think, Nate? What can he learn from? What can Bill Cosby learn from him?
He can learn to go away. Like, just shut up. Like Eugene said, he can just you got your mistrial. You're off the hook for now, but you've pissed off a lot of people. And going back to the well, Bisping was a perfect analogy. You don't do a victory lap for a mistrial. You just don't do a victory lap for a mistrial. You don't do a victory lap for a botched decision or a fluky win like Matt Hamill over John Jones. You got to have some perspective and some humility. And, what's he going to be telling people at these seminars? Don't eat the pudding pops, When Dr. Huxtable gives you some Jell-O, don't eat the Jell-O. Just kind of spoon it into your shirt. Like, dude needs to go away. That's all there is to it. Go away. Go away, Cos.
Yeah.
Scratch him away, Nate. Scratch him away with the back scratcher. Scratch him away.
Right. Do you think it was the juror that was wearing the funny 80s sweaters that acquitted him? I think that should have been a tell. Like, if I was the prosecutor, I would have been like, sweater dude has to go. But
oh, man. Bring us for a teachable moment. Nate, you're a police department chief.
heavy weighs the crown.
In St. Louis, an off-duty black officer was shot outside of his home while attempting to help his fellow white officers. The shooter, another white cop who reportedly feared for his own life. According to the black cop's attorney, quote, in the police report you have so far, there is no description of threat he received. So we have a real problem with that. But this has been a national discussion for the past 2 years. There is this perception that a black man is automatically feared, unquote. What can we learn about this situation to prevent it from infecting your department?
I would do what Salt Lake City has done. They haven't killed anybody since 2015. And Salt Lake City, if you haven't been there, is actually a fairly rough town. It's got a higher crime rate than New York City per capita, and they retrained their police department. There's all these different seminars and different things you can send your cops to with taxpayer dollars. And a lot of police departments send their officers to these like escalation training camps where they've got these macho guys that are blustering around and talking like everybody's a terrorist and you got to get control and kill. It's basically kill. And Salt Lake City went the other way and sent their guys to de-escalation training. I would do that. And I would talk it up how we're taking a serious look at this. We're going to send our guys to training. We're going to redo this because, it's another predicament. It's not a problem because there's no easy solution. It's a predicament. You've got a pretty racist white constituency that wants you to keep being tough on crime. You've got pressure to squeeze your citizens for fines. And they're using the police department to make revenue, which is a whole different problem, but it's not the police chief's problem. He's just doing what he's told. Like, it's not his role in the system to decide how communities want to enforce the law or what kind of role they want for their police department. If you want your police department to be jacking your citizens for money, well, that's the police chief's job. And so he's got to keep meeting those goals, but he also can't have an all-white police force, and he can't have 10 or 20% of the police force feeling like they're going to get shot by their brothers in blue just because they're black. So he's got some different constituencies to placate, and I say he needs to do some PR by sending them to training, teach them to cool their heads, and maybe lobby the city council to stop trying to put the squeeze on their citizens for so much cash.
What about you, Eugene?
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot, as you might imagine. And despite my drummer having said, you get into lots of fights, don't you? I don't really get in a huge number of fights. And part of being a fighter is that, one, I don't really respond to threats in the same way, because it's kind of like, unless you're training with me, you probably don't have a chance. Unless you're training 6-7 days a week, you probably don't have a chance. So it's all academic. So I tend to be pretty good humored. And also I was raised with, my mother thought the number one thing I would have to deal with growing up was street abuse. So rather than to leave it to the streets, my mother began abusing me. And I use those words in quotes from an early age, like routinely making fun of me growing up, like I'm talking about from the age of 1 to 5, it was par for the course, standard course. Your head is big, but she made it in a good-natured way. Made it about it was funny. So when I was in a real life situation where at loggerheads with somebody, and they're like, "Look at you, you fucking big head," I just thought they were being funny. I didn't realize that they were trying to hurt my feelings. And I got that touch of autism too, where like I'm not reading people's emotions well. I didn't really realize that until they put their hands on me. And then I was like, oh shit, they're angry. And then I would respond in kind. Anytime I go up against a cop, the first thing, if you've taken enough acid, you just start to see through the veil of the mist. You start to see real motivations and things like feelings, and it's fear. And fear. In fact, when I encounter, there's a certain classification. Actually, the vast majority of strange men who were strangers to me that I encounter on the street, just passing on the sidewalk, who are white, they also feel fear. And it could be the crime rate, it could be whatever. There's a classification of white guys who don't. They tend to be working class guys who do not feel fear. But middle class guys, upper middle class guys, routinely, I could be wearing a $1,500 fucking jacket and a suit, carrying a briefcase, they still respond with fear. That's why I like going overseas to Europe, because you're just a guy there. Black guy, just a guy. So I'm going to say women cops. There have been a couple of publicized cases. Recently, this one woman cop got exonerated. She shot some black cat, but that's one out of a huge sea. Why? Because women are used to negotiating conflict from the time, well before the time they became cops. They don't do it. They do it in a clever way, and they do it in a way that doesn't automatically ratchet itself up to, I'm going to fist fight you. No, they do it like cops in Britain. I represent the state. Now you might not want to do what I say now. You can drive off if that's what you'd like to do, but I got a radio and I got 100 more people like me who are going to fucking gang up on you and stop you. Yeah, I don't have to shoot you now. I don't have to shoot you at all unless you come toward me. And so you don't have the loggerheads thing. So I would say, more than changing the racial composition of local police forces, I'd say you need to do gender reassignment. You got to get more female cops out there. And I know commenters are going to go, oh, you're full of shit. I was abused by a female cop. I was, you know what? Anecdotally, I'm having to say the numbers are on my side. I can think of one female cop who shot somebody. And I can think of a dozen male cops who have done so for bullshit. My cop friends poo-poo it, but they're full of shit.
Well, while we're on this path of rage and poo-pooing, it's now time for Kid Nate's heel turn. Who are you gonna poop on, Nate?
Yeah. This week's heel turn, Dissent magazine. The inaptly named Dissent magazine had the headline story, Democrats don't need to go after establishment Democrats, calling them corporate neoliberals, blah, blah, blah. It's like, your fucking name is Dissent magazine, and your message is, hey, easy on Mark Warner. He needs those corporate dollars because corporate dollars, hey, we're on the same team. He's just the guy who takes all the money and then vetoes single-payer health care like Governor Jerry Brown out there. Like, Jerry Brown, you're talking about an asshole that's campaigned on single-payer for 30 fucking years. He gets a chance to pass it. Oh, Big Pharma starts talking. What was that? Is that money? Was that a campaign contribution? I believe we'll just veto that bill or, let it get killed in the House. So, fuck Dissent magazine. You're not living up to your name. Shut up. There you go.
Yeah. Short and sweet, man.
That's my nickname. Short and sweet.
I don't think I tell too many people about that. Short, sweet.
Hey,
why you should change to long and sweet. You might improve your prospects in life. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody thinks you're tall. It's not like this. It's like this. See?
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
man. So Eugene,
sir,
who's in the Lost Battalion this week?
Who is it? if you watch the 2-hour Knuckle Up marathon,
I did.
you would understand that probably what I said at the end of 2 hours was that the whole shit and shebang is mystified, wood-piled. UFC, Bellator, KSW, the whole entire premise of MMA, strong possibility it could be in the woodpile, but I'm not going to go for that here because it's been superseded by, and I'm getting text as we're doing the show, because I'm missing stuff, and some of the texts that I'm getting coming during the show, like I'll just read this one to you. This is great. Ready?
Yes.
Michael Chandler still feels like he's the champion.
Oh, Lord.
Quote, end quote. Can you hear what the wood pile is cooking? BJ Penn. He's got a 3-fight run, and he's BJ. Johnny Hendricks is, well, I might just retire, and he's kind of waiting for everybody to say, "No, Johnny, don't retire." And nobody's saying that, are they, Johnny? They're not saying it. Fedor, me, the last emperor. Yeah, you got that right. Emphasis on last. You know where you're touring? Nowhere. Who are you gonna fight now? Chael Sonnen? How does that fucking taste? It's like, I mean, part of it, and why this job is so easy, part of it, people just sent a picture. The other D-man just sent a picture of Johnny Hendricks showing up at the Wyman homestead unannounced. The photo is still downloading. I mean, this is an easy job because as the gyre turns and everybody gets older, it's inevitable. But Albert Speer had this theory of ruin, and that's that the buildings in Nazi Germany would look as good in decline as they did when they were built. It's a theory that I'm not a strapping 19-year-old, but I'm probably the best looking 54-year-old I could be. So the idea is that you decline in style. You know who's declining in style? Roy Nelson. You know how I know? Because I don't feel sad when I watch Roy Nelson. You know who's not declining in style? BJ Penn. Because I feel sad when I watch BJ Penn. That's it. So inevitably, everybody ends up on the dookie end of the stick, if you will. They end up on the dookie end of the stick, but a couple things get you in the lost battalion, and that's lack of self-awareness and pretty much lack of self-awareness. That's it. And I don't think any of those people I mentioned are very aware at all of exactly what that big pile of wood is doing next to them.
And I think what makes it worse for Chandler is he also was quoted as saying that, "Oh yeah, fight in New York. I don't want to fight in New York. I don't want to fight in New York." It's like, dude, you're 10 blocks away from the corporate headquarters. Of your fucking boss.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about with that. But then also, Kid Nate is too much of a man to have done this. Too much of a decent fellow to do this. But I will he's doing a double biceps pose for those listening on the radio. But I will jump in with both feet and say that all of you who gave us a hard time for saying that we didn't care about Aaron Pico, how's that feel? How the fuck does that feel, huh? Doesn't feel good, huh? Oh, Eugene, you don't know shit. The #1 prospect, shut up.
That was an incredible 98 seconds of action, I gotta say.
Man, there's not many places where 98 seconds of action is going to get you much of anything, if you know what I mean. Maybe if you can do a Rubik's Cube in 98 seconds, all the other Rubik's Cube geeks will think you're a hot shit. I would think you're a hot shit. But we're not talking about that.
It's weird too because you read the article, like the ESPN article about pumping him up. Also, he's been getting a salary for the past 2 years. They've been paying him, and it's just, man. I mean, when you read that before the fight, you think, okay, is this the model in which you go through?
I'm
you
sorry.
pick someone and you invest in their career.
I'm showing you. I'm showing you why I'm laughing. The tweet that said Weidman shows Hendricks shows up at Weidman's house unannounced. There is the first picture,
Oh man.
and and there is. I don't know if you can see the big pile of wood. Oh man, man.
Here's
man.
Bellator's mistake on the Pico thing. I have no problem with them paying him, grooming him the whole bit, recruiting him. It was smart to offer him that money to sign him. But you don't book him for his first fight against a guy who's 10-0. Like, what are you fucking thinking? Book him against a guy who's like 0-0 or 1-0
Right.
or 0-1. Like, you know.
Well, what I said is, I said it on Knuckle Up, and I'll say it again. I got one word for that. Sukaju.
Yeah, yep, totally. You know, it's funny because you wonder though, like in wake of the results of Bellator, like certain things became clear, right? Like I wondered why were they so pressed to have Meathead Matt Mitrione go up against Fedor? Because they wanted to make their Mitrione investment worthwhile. They probably knew, okay, you know what? Whoever we're going to put Fedor up against in there is going to beat Fedor. And let's at least get some kind of return on the investment and loss. So let's put Mitrione. Because think about it, right? It's like when Mitrione had the kidney stones, unable to fight, a lot of people stepped up. It's like, no. We can't do this. We're going to have Fedor fight later. We're not too sure. It's going to be Matt Mitrione again. Matt Mitrione must fight Fedor. So that, at the time, didn't make as much sense as it does now. And the Pico thing, I'm wondering, do you think they put him up against a guy with a record like that because, you know, if he loses against an 0-0 guy, it's like, damn, like so much for your prospect as opposed to like, oh, well, he fought against a guy who was experienced and, you know, are they trying to future-proof it?
No, I'd like to say that it was purposeful, but I think it was a fuck up. You know,
it was overconfidence.
Yep.
Man.
Can't, you know, I don't. If you think the guys at Bellator and the inner offices are happy about him getting fucking roasted, I think you'd be wrong.
No, yeah, I don't think that at all. I mean, that's why I think it's really fucked up about the fact that he lost as well, because I liked that the idea of paying someone a salary and like to train and to learn the craft or master the craft, and I thought that it was a very interesting. Different kind of model for investing in your independent contractors.
Yeah,
but
I'm also open to being paid to train. If anybody, I got to talk to Kogan about that. If I can start flowing some checks my way,
I'm open to being paid not to train. So you know, it makes it easy on everybody.
A lot of my upcoming opponents have paid me not to train, and it's always worked out. You know who else got paid to train? Mr. Team Takedown, Johnny Hendricks. They invested in a whole bunch of guys. Hendricks was the most successful one. And Rochelt was another guy in that crew. I can't remember who else. It was all college wrestlers, and it worked out until it didn't. You know, I don't know if they ever recouped their money because he wasn't champ for very long, and they put a lot of money into those cats.
But you know what makes me angry, and I didn't really touch on this because at 2 hours and 2 minutes I had to stop the Knuckle Up. Otherwise, I just go into the 3 hour mark. But what annoyed me about the Johnny Hendricks thing. Because everybody's going to go back to USADA thing. They're going to go back to pre and post USADA. But as a former steroid user, performance enhancing supplement guy myself, I can tell you that the physical drop off is not significant if you continue training. This is what the people don't realize. The decline is slow, and they've done tests to back it up to say, look, if you want to ban these guys, you got to ban them for, you know, it's still exerting positive effects in terms of your general level of athleticism 365 days out. So giving somebody a 6-month fine is fucking bullshit. And I would say it's even longer than that. It's probably on the low end. But what goes first? Right here, baby. For those listening on the radio, I'm pointing to my head. The head goes. So I think the big essential tragedy is not the pre and post USADA that irks me about the Hendricks thing. What irks me about the Hendricks thing is that it's clearly to me a head problem. It's not guy doesn't wrestle from the age of 7 years old and suddenly become an ineffective fighter. It's his head. It's his head 100%. I guarantee you.
His head and the weight cuts. It hasn't been power he's been lacking or even conditioning. It's been the inability to make weight. I think something changed in his regimen.
Yeah. These are all part and parcel, right? Because, you know, if you do cardio, lots of cardio when you're on, you will metabolize your food differently. You'll trim up. If you're taking equipoise, you'll lean up. You can lose the weight easily. It feels like magic. Listen, I had guys come over to my house crying in the days pre-Viagra because they had a date Friday night and they just needed anything, a pill, a shot, a pill, because they were going to get laid that night and they couldn't deal with the inevitable rough patch that comes at the end of a cycle. So they needed a boost. Where every study, every extant study says that unless you're taking an HCG, if you take HCG, which is made from the urine of pregnant women, you take HCG, your body responds within 2 hours. That's the only thing that would have been possibly helped you get a leg up on the whole date, sex tonight thing.
Third leg up.
Yeah, third leg. But these guys are good. But these guys are asking for pills. They're asking for. I said, sirs, I do not know anything about that. Do not darken my door with your request for narcotics. I do not have them. That's the way that played out.
Noble.
I'm a noble guy.
Man, you know, when you mentioned the photographs and the mental thing, it made me think of like the meth face, you know, like maybe that's what they should do for Johnny Hendricks and these people. Like show them like back when their head is straight and then like the meth face. You know.
Well, you know, under the best of circumstances, Mike Thomas Brown, a friend of Knuckle Up, as far as I know, a clean athlete, you know, started having head problems and eventually did the manly thing. It was like, you know what? I've been going to sports psychiatrist, psychologist. I guess I'm fucking done. I get whatever is happening here. I just need time to figure it out. And it resolved itself. Coaching guys in the cage, I can make my contribution much more significantly that way. But whatever's happening here, I can't fix it, and I don't care to try anymore. So good for him, you know.
Well, that sounds like a perfect segue to the end of the show. Don't want to try anymore. We're done.
Can't fix it.
Thanks for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at EUGENE'S Robinson, Lexi Old, at Kid Nate, at Facebook at MMA Punch Holes. Please give us a thumbs up. Eugene.
Dang, 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 dang. And buy that Oxbow record, Thin Black Duke, baby.
That's right.
Amazon, Spotify, Tidal, Bandcamp, everywhere.
That's right. For past episodes of the show, check out our If I Did It playlist on MMANation.com. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube, MMA Nation on iTunes. Visit Bloody Elbow. And you heard about buying the Duke and also buying the books. We'll be back next week with another installment. If I didn't, we don't know what we're going to be talking about yet because the PR mistakes have been made.
Hold on. Wait, we should talk about that because next week is the 4th of July. Are we going to do a show on the 4th of July?
No, we're not. We won't be back next week. Unless
You're not doing the
Thursday.
show on the 4th of July. I'm not either.
Yeah, unless we do it Thursday. So you catch. And there's no Care Don't Care this week either.
Yep.
Man, the drought. That is going to bring on the meth face.
And should I do a Knuckle Up?
That is entirely up to you.
Well, we'll let people vote on that. Anyway.
All right. Thanks for joining us.